and they followed what the devils taught during the reign of Solomon. It was not Solomon who disbelieved, but it was the devils who disbelieved. They taught the people witchcraft and what was revealed in Babylon to the two angels Harut and Marut. They did not teach anybody until they had said, "We are a test, so do not lose faith." But they learned from them the means to cause separation between man and his wife. But they cannot harm anyone except with Allah's permission. And they learned what would harm them and not benefit them. Yet they knew that whoever deals in it will have no share in the hereafter. Miserable is what they sold their souls for, if they only knew. Do not marry idolatresses, unless they have believed. A believing maid is better than an idolatress, even if you like her. And do not marry idolaters, unless they have believed. A believing servant is better than an idolater, even if you like him. These call to the fire, but Allah calls to the garden and to forgiveness, by His leave. He makes clear His communications to the people, that they may be mindful. Divorced women shall wait by themselves for 3 periods. And it is not lawful for them to conceal what Allah has created in their wombs, if they believe in Allah and the Last Day. Meanwhile, their husbands have the better right to take them back, if they desire reconciliation. And women have rights similar to their obligations, according to what is fair. But men have a degree over them. Allah is mighty and wise. If he divorces her, she shall not be lawful for him again until she has married another husband. If the latter divorces her, then there is no blame on them for reuniting, provided they think they can maintain Allah's limits. These are Allah's limits, He makes them clear to people who know. When you divorce women, and they have reached their term, do not prevent them from marrying their husbands, provided they agree on fair terms. Thereby is advised whoever among you believes in Allah and the Last Day. That is better and more decent for you. Allah knows, and you do not know. As for those among you who die and leave widows behind, their widows shall wait by themselves for 4 months and 10 days. When they have reached their term, there is no blame on you regarding what they might honorably do with themselves. Allah is fully acquainted with what you do. You commit no error by announcing your engagement to women, or by keeping it to yourselves. Allah knows that you will be thinking about them. But do not meet them secretly, unless you have something proper to say. And do not confirm the marriage attire until the writing is fulfilled. And know that Allah knows what is in your souls, so beware of Him. And know that Allah is forgiving and forbearing. Those of you who die and leave wives behind, a will shall provide their wives with support for a year, provided they do not leave. If they leave, you are not to blame for what they do with themselves, provided it is reasonable. Allah is mighty and wise. If you fear you cannot act fairly towards the orphans, then marry the women you like, 2, or 3, or 4. But if you fear you will not be fair, then 1, or what you already have. That makes it more likely that you avoid bias. Give women their dowries graciously. But if they willingly forego some of it, then consume it with enjoyment and pleasure. O you who believe! It is not permitted for you to inherit women against their will. And do not coerce them in order to take away some of what you had given them, unless they commit a proven adultery. And live with them in kindness. If you dislike them, it may be that you dislike something in which Allah has placed much good. If you wish to replace one wife with another, and you have given one of them a fortune, take nothing back from it. Would you take it back fraudulently and sinfully? Forbidden for you are your mothers, your daughters, your sisters, your paternal aunts, your maternal aunts, your brothers' daughters, your sisters' daughters, your foster mothers who nursed you, your sisters through nursing, your wives' mothers, and your stepdaughters in your guardianship, born of wives you have gone into, but if you have not gone into them, there is no blame on you. And the wives of your genetic sons, and marrying two sisters simultaneously. Except what is past. Allah is oft forgiving, most merciful. And all married women, except those you rightfully possess. This is Allah's decree, binding upon you. Permitted for you are those that lie outside these limits, provided you seek them in legal marriage, with gifts from your property, seeking wedlock, not prostitution. If you wish to enjoy them, then give them their dowry, a legal obligation. You commit no error by agreeing to any change to the dowry. Allah is all-knowing, most wise. If any of you lack the means to marry free believing women, he may marry one of the believing maids under your control. Allah is well aware of your faith. You are from one another. Marry them with the permission of their guardians, and give them their recompense fairly, to be protected, neither committing adultery, nor taking secret lovers. When they are married, if they commit adultery, their punishment shall be half that of free women. That is for those among you who fear falling into decadence. But to practice self-restraint is better for you. Allah is most forgiving, most merciful. Men are the protectors and maintainers of women, as Allah has given some of them an advantage over others, and because they spend out of their wealth. The good women are obedient, guarding what Allah would have them guard. As for those from whom you fear disloyalty, admonish them, and abandon them in their beds, then strike them. But if they obey you, seek no way against them. Allah is sublime, great. They ask you for a ruling about women. Say, Allah gives you a ruling about them, and so does what is stated to you in the book about widowed women from whom you withhold what is decreed for them, yet you desire to marry them, and about helpless children, that you should treat the orphans fairly. Whatever good you do, Allah knows it. You will not be able to treat women with equal fairness, no matter how much you desire it. But do not be so biased as to leave another suspended. If you make amends, and act righteously, Allah is forgiving and merciful. Today all good things are made lawful for you. And the food of those given the scripture is lawful for you, and your food is lawful for them. So are chaste believing women, and chaste women from the people who were given the scripture before you, provided you give them their dowries, and take them in marriage, not in adultery, nor as mistresses. But whoever rejects faith, his work will be in vain, and in the hereafter he will be among the losers. The adulterer shall marry none but an adulteress or an idolatress, and the adulteress shall marry none but an adulterer or an idolater. That has been prohibited for the believers. Bad women are for bad men, and bad men are for bad women, and good women are for good men, and good men are for good women. Those are acquitted of what they say. There is forgiveness for them, and a generous provision. And wed the singles among you, and those who are fit among your servants and maids. If they are poor, Allah will enrich them from His bounty. Allah is all-encompassing, all-knowing. And let those who do not find the means to marry abstain, until Allah enriches them from His bounty. If any of your servants wish to be freed, grant them their wish, if you recognize some good in them. And give them of Allah's wealth which He has given you. And do not compel your girls to prostitution, seeking the materials of this life, if they desire to remain chaste. Should anyone compel them, after their compulsion, Allah is forgiving and merciful. He said, I want to marry you to one of these two daughters of mine, provided you work for me for 8 years. But if you complete 10, that is up to you. I do not intend to impose any hardship on you. You will find me, Allah willing, one of the righteous. And of His signs is that He created for you mates from among yourselves, so that you may find tranquility in them, and He planted love and compassion between you. In this are signs for people who reflect. O Prophet! Say to your wives, if you desire the life of this world and its finery, then let me compensate you, and release you kindly. When you said to him whom Allah had blessed, and you had favored, keep your wife to yourself, and fear Allah. But you hid within yourself what Allah was to reveal. And you feared the people, but it was Allah you were supposed to fear. Then, when Zayd ended his relationship with her, we gave her to you in marriage, that there may be no restriction for believers regarding the wives of their adopted sons, when their relationship has ended. The command of Allah was fulfilled. O Prophet! We have permitted to you your wives to whom you have given their dowries, and those you already have, as granted to you by Allah, and the daughters of your paternal uncle, and the daughters of your paternal aunts, and the daughters of your maternal uncle, and the daughters of your maternal aunts who emigrated with you, and a believing woman who has offered herself to the Prophet, if the Prophet desires to marry her, exclusively for you, and not for the believers. We know what we have ordained for them regarding their wives and those their right hands possess. This is to spare you any difficulty. Allah is forgiving and merciful. You may defer any of them you wish, and receive any of them you wish. Should you desire any of those you had deferred, there is no blame on you. This is more proper, so that they will be comforted, and not be grieved, and be content with what you have given each one of them. Allah knows what is within your hearts. Allah is omniscient and clement. Beyond that, no other women are permissible for you, nor can you exchange them for other wives, even if you admire their beauty, except those you already have. Allah is watchful over all things. O you who believe! When believing women come to you emigrating, test them. Allah is aware of their faith. And if you find them to be faithful, do not send them back to the unbelievers. They are not lawful for them, nor are they lawful for them. But give them what they have spent. You are not at fault if you marry them, provided you give them their compensation. And do not hold on to ties with unbelieving women, but demand what you have spent, and let them demand what they have spent. This is the rule of Allah, He rules among you. Allah is knowing and wise. If any of your wives desert you to the unbelievers, and you decide to penalize them, give those whose wives have gone away the equivalent of what they had spent. And fear Allah, in whom you are believers. O Prophet! If believing women come to you, pledging allegiance to you, on condition that they will not associate anything with Allah, nor steal, nor commit adultery, nor kill their children, nor commit perjury as to parenthood, nor disobey you in anything righteous, accept their allegiance and ask Allah's forgiveness for them. Allah is forgiving and merciful.